Yo, it's your boy Logos. And now that Disney has finally saw the consequences of their actions, pushing political and social causes that has nothing to do with their movies, and trying to influence adults and their children to do things that they don't want to do or don't support, and if you don't, you're a quote unquote this or that label, is only one stone, or one step to fixing this whole mess we now have in Hollywood. I think the Hollywood actors, specifically the ones that works for Disney, who do similar things like Disney has been doing, also need to shut up. Or they also need to talk to those actors and actresses, specifically the one for Snow White, before these movies come out. Because all the trash talk and the disrespect of these classic movies, that are the reason why these people have jobs in the first place, is just unnecessary. I really don't care about this actress's name or this actress's reason for not liking the old classic Snow White movies. The fact of the matter is, the only reason she has a job to do the new live action version is because of the classic, and people love for it. That's really the only reason why people gonna go and see it, is because of the classic, and they're curious, I guess, to see the new remake. I'm not gonna go see it because she's clearly on some nonsense. But I'm curious to see what the creator Jinko got to say about it. He usually has some really good takes, and we've been saying the same thing for a very long time about Disney, about corporations, and the Hollywood just really not caring about the consumers or customers. It's just crazy to me. You want me to pay money to you, support your business, but then you tell me how I'm not good enough. I don't think the right way. I don't act the right way. My politics isn't the right way. You don't know me. You don't know my everyday life. You're just an executive, and all you care about is money. And at the end of the day, all this social justice and all these other movements these corporations choose to be a part of, it's about money. Disney has no problem kowtowing or agreeing or working out deals with Chinese or the Chinese government. And specifically, it's just because of the large market and the big push they get from the box office. But China can still persecute Uyghur Muslims. They still have Tiananmen Square. They still have many oppressive laws, but nobody cares. There's a whole bunch of hypocrisy. But let's get into it.
Reality really does come at you hard. Whether you're a wannabe Mr. Universe trying to lift way beyond his capacity with no spotter on hand, or a drunken
Dumbass.
20-something woman that's watched too many Marvel movies and thinks she can take on a grown man twice her size, or in this case, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar entertainment company who decided it was a good idea to wade into the middle of a highly divisive culture war and somehow not expect to alienate a massive chunk of their potential audience. I'm talking, of course, about Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney and the man largely responsible for changing the company's public perception from a wholesome, patriotic, family-friendly and highly respected entertainment brand that strove to honour the ideals and principles of its founder into a sinister corporate behemoth that gobbles up studios and IPs quicker than Lizzo consumes hors d'oeuvres at a party.
But when they first got Star Wars and Marvel, I was excited. I'm a huge comic book nerd, and Star Wars is one of my favorite franchises. So getting new content, seeing these superheroes on the big screen was awesome. And even up to Infinity War, I was in supporting of Marvel, but then it really started to shift. I think it really started to shift even before him with Captain Marvel, and I'm of the opinion that they switched out the Hulk's, I guess, final fight or second fight with Thanos in favor of Captain Marvel. I say that because of the toys and other merchandise advertisement that was coming out at the time. But you know, you can always rewrite things. You can always reshoot things in Hollywood, and it happens all the damn time. With almost every damn movie.
Cannibalizes and destroys beloved franchises and legacy characters with a series of disastrous sequels and soulless remakes, and uses the hard work and talent of previous generations as a convenient platform to push the message. To put it in diplomatic terms, this turned out to be a suboptimal strategy. And in case the collapsing share value, cratering park attendance, flatlining box office revenue, and highly publicised and damaging political battles weren't enough to clue you in on this fact, then a recent statement by old Bob himself during an investor's presentation at Disney World that he wants to quiet the noise around the culture war is really the final nail in the coffin. It's the executive equivalent of saying, yeah, I fucked up, bro. And it's as close as we're likely to get to a public admission that people aren't buying what they've been selling, no matter how many times they try to do it. And the only option now is to either change course rapidly or go bankrupt.
And the whole problem with Rey for me with Star Wars is the fact that she was a Mary Sue, and they just really trash on the prequels or the previous legacy. how they treated Luke Skywalker, how they treated other different characters. People say Anakin Skywalker was a Mary Sue because he was powerful, but he lost his mom, he lost his hand, he suffered many, many times because of his arrogance and anger. I really don't remember Rey suffering much at all because of her own faults. She did one little, 2 minute lightsaber swinging montage, and now she almost like a master. It's just ridiculous. Or like a Jedi Knight. It just doesn't make any sense. But then you have somebody like Ahsoka, who was built up over a series and initially wasn't liked, and now is one of the best characters from Star Wars. And I say that leading up to the new series. The new series really doesn't interest me as much as I do love Ahsoka, because it just doesn't look like love is into it anymore. It doesn't feel like they really care. It just feel like, I don't know, just not hitting some type of notch for me. You can say what you want about the prequels and George Lucas, but you could tell he at least put his soul into it. You might not like everything, but you could tell he gave a damn. I really don't see that from Disney nowadays, except for maybe Andor.
Now, I have to admit, my first reaction to this statement was... As I said on Twitter at the time, it's a bit like setting fire to your neighbourhood and then acting all surprised when your own house starts burning down. Of course this was always going to happen, Bob. Did you really think you could drag your company into a highly contentious cultural battleground like this and not suffer the consequences? That's the problem with politics, you see. It's inherently divisive by nature, now more than ever. And no matter which side you choose to throw your weight behind, you're automatically going to piss off the other side.
And it matters for them because they want money for everybody. As much as they try to act righteous and on the holier than now, like I said at the start, they accept money from places like China, where very oppressive, violent, brutal governments. At the end of the day, it's all about the money. They can go out and tout this whole social justice stuff. I don't buy it.
Cutting your potential audience neatly in half. I mean, I'm no businessman, but I'm pretty sure this is not a winning business strategy. And I'm not gonna lie here, the audience that you chose to pander to is a particularly difficult one to please, because here's the thing, it doesn't really exist in the first place. It's less of a demographic group and more of a loose collection of terminally online, perpetually offended serial complainers for whom the idea of nuance and compromise is as offensive and alien as having to listen to conflicting points of view. People like that will never be happy. No matter how much of your previous work you censor and remove and edit to try to appease them, they'll always find a new thing to be offended and outraged by.
And it's even so ridiculous. It's even more ridiculous to try to appease them because they make up such a small percentage of your population, of the overall population. And those people really aren't the true fans that built up that franchise. So you trying to pander to the 2% that get upset on Twitter before they pop the anxiety medication is only going to harm yourself. The fans that have been loving Star Wars for decades since they were kids and still do now as adults, those are the people you should really care about and respect those people and the lore and the legacy of Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or anything.
No matter how many concessions you make, no matter how much ground you give them, their demand is always going to be the same. More. Until eventually they'll demand something that you can't give them, in which case you'll become the enemy just like everyone else.
For example, from my understanding, there was like some article or some backlash during The Little Mermaid because it didn't show slavery, even though I guess it took place in the Caribbean or someplace on Earth during the time period of the slavery within the Western Hemisphere. I don't understand why it's necessary to show that, but that just proves what me and the Critical Drinker and also Eric July Rippaverse says. You can't please these people. They just want to bitch.
I mean, look what happened to Bob Chapek, who committed the heinous crime of not wanting to get the company embroiled in a highly divisive political debate in Florida against a man with the power to massively fuck things up for Disney. Before you knew it, the activists were all over it, and Bob was forced into a humiliating public climb down. And tell me, did this actually help your business in any way? Did people suddenly flock to your theme parks or rush out to see your movies? Didn't think so. The only thing that did happen is that you lost the special tax exemption exemption status for the land around your theme parks, massively increasing your operating costs, and got dragged into a protracted and very expensive legal battle that's still going on even now. And what's kind of sad here is that none of this needed to happen. This isn't a hill that you had to die on. Why? Because you're a fucking entertainment company, not a political party. Normal, everyday people don't want or need you to champion a cause or push forward an agenda, because that's not your job. Normal people don't need you to fight for or against them, or to praise or lecture them. Normal people watch your movies or go to your theme parks to have a bit of fun, to escape the worries and pressures of everyday life for a couple of hours, to lose themselves in the fantasy for a while. This right here is your core audience. This is your core audience. This is your core audience.
Yes.
This is not. And the last thing your core audience wants from a family entertainment company is to run into the same preachy, divisive pandering they get bombarded with on a daily basis. And the thing is, while I can at least respect the fact that Iger's finally acknowledged the problem he created and what he needs to do to fix it, I don't think he appreciates the monumental effort it's actually going to take. Talk is cheap, actions are what counts here, and this one's going to require the Mount fucking Everest of actions to put right. Disney as a corporation is riddled with this stuff now at every level. It's become part of the corporate culture, mostly because he allowed it to happen. He let the foxes into the hen house, and not only are they eating all of his chickens, but they're multiplying at an exponential rate. And believe me, they are not going to leave without a fight. Getting rid of them is going to require mass firings on a level never before seen, gutting the company from top to bottom, not to mention ongoing vigilance to make sure they never get back in. And to be honest, I just don't know if a 72-year-old man who's already postponed his retirement multiple times has the resources, the energy, or the political capital to get the job done. Reality truly does come at you hard, but I think in Disney's case, they might be a few years too late in acknowledging it. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Honestly, it does kind of make you, I don't know, I don't want to say sad, because I've been doing perfectly fine without these corporations seeing these movies. Back in 2015, maybe up to 2018, maybe even a little bit earlier, I was deep into movies. I was deep into actors, actresses because of their talent and skill. Nowadays, they go on strike, I don't care. Disney falling apart, I really don't care. It's, I don't know, it seems like smaller studios, or at least studios not like Disney or Universal, just, major ones, are taking chances and putting out good work. I really don't feel bad for them. People been saying this stuff for years, but they now want to listen after they lose billions of dollars. That's what you get. You have different, I don't know, alliances. You have different consequences compared to the average everyday person. And you're trying to cater to the 1% like you're just some random person in their life. Doesn't make any sense. Cater to the audience. Who and what built Disney up in the first place. I'm curious to see what they do over the next few years, but I don't think they're going to do that well. Luckily, they have Star Wars and Marvel, so that's always big names. And if they're really that down bad, they could just sell those back out. But I doubt it. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's your boy Logos, and I'll see you next time. Peace.